Hello and welcome to the cert-manager bi-weekly meeting on the 31st of October 2024. We're joined today by me, Richard Wall, Ash from the cert-manager team, Erik from the cert-manager team, and Rahul from... Oh, Rahul, I don't know where you're from or which company you're representing. But anyway, we're going to have an item from Rahul later, but we're going to start with a quick announcement about Trust Manager and approval policy. Over to you, Ash.
Yeah, these ones are going to be pretty quick because it's basically a call to look at the releases. We've done 2 releases this week. Trust Manager 0.13, which has quite a lot of changes. It's actually been a surprisingly long time since we did a release. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can now mount every key from a source rather than just mounting one key, which is a cool headline feature. And the approval policy one is actually really quite exciting. It adds support for writing policies that examine the service account that created the certificate request. So what that actually allows you to do is say that a pod can only, for example, request a cert that has its service account name embedded in a Spiffy ID or its DNS names or whatever. It's potentially quite powerful. It actually would enable CSI driver Spiffy to be completely replaced by CSI driver and approval policy, which is a really interesting thought as well. We've been talking a lot recently about how the future of CSI driver Spiffy, and one potential future is replace it with these things. I don't really have much more to say on it than that. I don't really have much more to announce beyond that. As we've said before, cert-manager will be at KubeCon NA, which is feeling very close now. I fly in just over a week. Please feel free to come along if you're going to be in Salt Lake City, and we'll print you a certificate.
Thanks, Ash. Then we shall move on to the only item in the agenda, which is Rahul from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Talking about cert-manager adoption and to talk about the scalability tests and performance benchmarks. Please go ahead, Rahul.
Sure. Thank you. I think, first of all, glad to be here with you folks. Yeah, I really love the project. and yeah, happy Halloween to you. Thanks for joining so late. So I'm Rahul Godha. I work for LinkedIn in North America, in the Silicon Valley, Sunnyvale, Mountain View area. And we are looking for adopting the cert manager with a very particular use case. Like, we plan to mostly rely on the CSI driver with the cert manager controller and the approval policy way, and plan to have our own external issuer for signing the actual certificate requests. This is for our internal PKI. We manage the internal PKI within LinkedIn, and we have a skill, like very high skill requirements. And by that, I mean that we can expect to have more than 50K pods, and each pod can get a certificate request, can create a certificate request through CSI driver. And that can happen in a moment. Like, there can be a change in the deployment system, which can trigger restart of 50,000 pods or plus at a time. And that ultimately, our Kubernetes cluster, you can imagine it can have 5K nodes, and each node runs a CSI driver. There's a CSI driver daemon set running on every node. And ultimately, what we are targeting is to have a very high scale issuance of certificate requests which generated by CSI driver, then goes to approval policy for approval. If it is approved, then it goes for the issuer, and issuer actually then signs it, which then CSI driver again reconciles the issued or ready certificate request, and then it mounts the files to the pod. And then, so yeah, that's the overall, I think, the requirement and the way that we want to use, or we are thinking to use cert-manager. But here, so given this scale, have you guys, I think you guys know a lot more. So have you guys know someone uses cert-manager in this particular way, in this use case? Or if they, how is your experience of scaling cert-manager, approval policy, and the issuer at this scale?
I don't think anyone has used cert-manager the way you propose to use it with CSI driver at such scale,
Okay.
as far as I know. I mean, there have been companies or users in the past who have reported using cert-manager in very large clusters with very large numbers of certificate resources. I'm sure we
Okay.
could find the issues, GitHub issues, where those people have said more about their deployments and clusters. I can look those up. And we do have some, I mean, we have, I'm not going to be able to name them off the top of my head, but large companies who are using cert-manager at scale, certainly. Just, I don't think anyone that I know of doing it with CSI driver.
Okay.
I've done some, go on, Ash, sorry.
I'm going to say my reaction is that CSI driver is probably an excellent choice here, because that shifts the load for generating private keys into the pods rather than just being the cert-manager controller. So that you've already made a good choice there. I'm just going to echo what Richard said. Like, there are definitely huge places that are running cert-manager at huge scale, but very rarely do we hear numbers, specific numbers from them, in my experience. So I also just want to say thank you for actually sharing the numbers that you're expecting to operate at, because it'd be really interesting to hear how this goes for you. And yeah, it's exciting.
I guess, oh, and what I was going to say, in your proposed situation, Rahul, cert-manager itself won't be doing very much. The webhook will be validating and mutating the certificate requests, but the cert-manager controller won't have anything to do, as long as you're using an external issuer.
Yeah.
So the performance, it'll be all about the performance of your external issuer
and policy,
and performance of approval policy and CSI driver.
Yeah.
There are some people who have reported using Istio CSR at scale.
Oh, geez, sorry.
Sorry, Peter, did you?
No, sorry, my volume was way up, and my partner is here with me, and I kind of blasted their ears. So sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Istio CSR. Rahul, there's another project called Istio CSR,
Okay.
which is a way to integrate Istio with cert-manager, and with Istio CSR, every pod which uses the Istio sidecar will create cert-manager certificate requests. And so I think there's some people using that at scale. And I think there may have recently been some people reporting some bottlenecks when they restart thousands of pods. It causes Istio CSR to create thousands of certificate requests. And I can't remember the details, but there may have been some bottlenecks and problems with that.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Good to know. At least thanks for sharing that. I believe then our use cases has not been done at this scale, at least. So we will probably know more when we try it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I was going to say, I did do some benchmarking of cert-manager and the and approver policy and some of the Venafi closed source components. And I've got some measurements of the memory usage and CPU usage of approver policy under quite heavy load. And measurements of the memory and CPU usage of cert-manager under heavy load, but
Okay.
that's not so interesting to you, probably.
If we have tested approval policies, or if you have the benchmarks for approval policy, I will be happy to read about it.
Yeah, I can. I think I've got the link to the docs that have the results. So I'll share those with you. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I've got to say, I think. When will you start your experiments, Rahul?
We'll see. Like, I think even to simulate this scenario, it's not easy. So as we yeah. Yeah, we really need the resources, like the hosts and nodes. So yeah, we don't know that. Like, but yeah, we do plan to do in some way, like at least with limited number or with limited capacity, we can try to mock the behavior of CSI driver in a way. But let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, well, keep us posted, keep us informed of your findings, and find us on cert-manager dev if you want to chat about anything, any of the performance issues that you encounter.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
I'll find you those links and I'll put them in this document, maybe after the meeting.
Sure. We'll look forward for it. Okay, but yeah, glad to be here and glad to see everyone here. I have seen your PRs and the code, but seeing you for the first time.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other remarks for Rahul before we move on?
Just on that last point, that you're using your external issuer for a company-specific private PKI. I've been working on that exact same thing quietly in the background for my external PKI. So if any of that code, obviously the details of your API would not be public, but if any of that code is something that you're willing to share or that is already out there in a public-facing repo, would love to compare notes on your implementation. I've been working from the new-ish issuer lib baseline now that that's pushed up to mainline. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm on the Slack, Rahul, if you want to reach out after the meeting.
Sure, on the cert-manager dev, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
With the CSI driver, maybe this is off the top of my head, but if it's deployed as a daemon set, isn't it? So there can only be one replica of it per node. So is that going to cause a performance problem if you're relying on a single process on each node to handle perhaps many thousands of certificate requests for the pods on that node?
As far as I think, it depends number of pods on a node. So if number of pods are not high, it should be fine for CSI driver, I believe. It's the the number of nodes that will send a simultaneous request or the concurrent requests to cert-manager controllers and approval policy and the issuer, like the generation of certificate requests in parallel with so many nodes, I think may create the bottleneck for the controllers, in my mind. But the CSI driver should be fine, I believe, but not sure. We'll know more.
Right, I've just looked at Ash's notes. Yeah, so there's 5,000 nodes in this cluster, potentially. Is that right?
Means that's
Rahul?
what we are aiming for, but we don't have that yet. Like, but we want to test it for that scale if we can do it.
Wow, okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think the
Okay.
control plane is going to be your biggest problem, and not the controllers. That would be my expectation.
Yeah, even that's what we are thinking. Yeah. Yeah, even specifically like in the cert-manager controllers, I see there is an option to specify the number of concurrent go routine workers. But I don't see it's there for approval policy. Approval policy just adds one controller each for certificate request and one for policy, but and then reconciles it. So I think that may be a bottleneck, but not sure.
It's possible to set it, I think. At least it's a very simple change because controller runtime supports it out of the box.
Yeah.
So it's there's nothing to program. It's already there. You just have to expose this as something that you can configure.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be happy to contribute if we see that is the bottleneck and we can improve on it.
Okay, well, thank you, Rahul, and thanks everyone for contributing to that item. I propose we call it a short meeting this week, and that we don't do the test grid. We don't sweep the issues and look at the CI test grid. We can do that. The team can do that in the stand-up or at another time. Are there any other remarks or items? And if not, then thanks everyone, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you for joining, everyone.